Do you think the Bible is all about rules, or do you think it comes from a place of love?
The Bible's for everybody. I mean, it's so ample. I mean, you could read it basically and you have an answer to whatever problem you have. Yeah. Somebody that knows how to use it, you know. I don't, but I'm sure somebody that does can find their answers right there.
Are you a believer?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we see that the pandemic took a lot of lives last year. It's taking lives today, and we saw that some people were here one day, the next day they were gone. And do you think that could be God trying to get people's attention?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I think so.
The Bible says that the wages of sin is death, and that we live in certain consequences, not necessarily because of what we do as individuals, but because collectively there's a lot of things that are transgressing against God, that are battling with him. You know, like for example, if I look at the prison system, I'll see a whole line of why people got locked up, a whole lot of transgression between them and God, and some of those consequences leak over into our communities, and some of those consequences leak over to families, you know, and everyone at the end of the day becomes victims or victors depending on how they fight that battle. Do you think that God has something to say in all of that?
Like in the prison systems and like.
Yeah, in the prison system or in general. What do you guys believe in second chances? I should ask that question.
I think I want to say I believe in second chances, and like to an extent I do, but for some cases I feel like second chances are just it's kind of too late for that, if that makes sense. Just like some things, I don't know.
I believe in second chances for sure, but then it's just like how you approach it and like the mindset you have going into it. Like you have to actually believe that you messed up in a sense, and that you want to work on something and like try for it, I guess.
That sounds like the gospel message to me. Is that you got to identify the problem, deal with the problem, turn from the problem, and keep it moving. I like that. Okay, that's pretty good. There's a quote out there that says, "Only forgiven sinners go to heaven." What are your thoughts on that? If that is true, why is that so important?
Only forgiven sinners. Oh, okay, the baptism.
Only forgiven sinners go to heaven.
I've never dwelled on that. I don't have an answer, honestly.
Okay.
I never thought too much about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was once upon a time, I never thought too much about that either. I get it.
Yeah.
So the thought behind that is that we all have some kind of sin in our life. We all have some kind of issue that we're dealing with. And in order to be right with God, we have to be forgiven. We have to acknowledge that there's sin there. We have to acknowledge that there's an issue there, and we have to turn from that issue. But it's like you go to a place, but you need a ticket to get in. It's like when you go to when you're going to heaven, or you know you're trying to get right with God, you need His forgiveness. Without His forgiveness, how can we say we're made right with God? It's like if I was to kick it with you, but I did an offense against you, and I wanted to go to your house. You wouldn't want me to go to your house because I made an offense against you. The only thing that would let me go into your house was that if you had a forgiving heart. What do you think?
Yeah, that's about right, yeah.
Pretty much with us and God is that we need to get that forgiveness from Him and then get right with Him and turn from those ways that we once committed.
Yeah, that's what religion is about. Yeah.
Religion or God? I hear you say a lot of religion. Do you think there's more than one answer, or do you think that that the claims of Jesus, that Him being the way, truth, and life, is solid?
I just think that whatever you're doing, you know, whatever makes that person correct, that's it, you know. I believe in God. I don't have a religion, you know. I understand it. I've read a lot. I just never followed one specific faith, you know.
Well, today, would you consider this conversation? Would you consider the message kind of behind us, the hope? Because
yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, because if God is that important if God is like important, like air is important to us, right here and right now, I think we should think about Him. But I think we live in a society where we don't think about God anymore because we're too busy and we're too focused on what's happening here and now. But if God is real, you know, do we really want to gamble? Yeah. So I just wanted you to consider that, and our mission and our ministry is to talk about the hard topics and just to have people rethink about God as they're living life, because He's that important.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad that there's so much other stuff you could be doing that you're taking the time to do this. You know, that makes you right. You know.
Well, I appreciate your time. Yeah. God bless you, bro. So there's a quote out there that says, "Only forgiven sinners go to heaven." Think about that for a second. Only forgiven sinners go to heaven.
But we're all forgiven.
Tell me your thoughts. Who's all?
I think everybody is forgiven if you like give your like sins to God. Like you actually have to acknowledge them. You have to like notice that they're there and like say, I understand like that happened, but like I know God forgives me because I realized that it was wrong. You have to realize that something was wrong. There was an issue there, but you have to try to fix it. And if you do, you're forgiven.
That's what they say the law's for. The law is to show us our transgression, and that Jesus is to show us the way out. And that's what they say, that the law reveals to us that, hey, we're trespassers because we've all broken the 10 Commandments one way. I don't care if we stole a little candy. I don't care if we said a little white lie. I don't care what we did, that we're all transgressors in something. And so I think that the law is there as a mirror to show us that, hey, we've crossed God somewhere along in our journey. We need to make that right. And so only forgiven sinners go to heaven. That quote is kind of birthed out of the idea that that's our ticket into heaven. For example, if she did a crime against you and it was completely heinous and you're just like, I'm never talking to her again, and she wanted to come to your house the next day, your answer would typically be
No.
right. Okay, so that's the point, right? So that's the same with God. Why would we be able to think that we can go to God's kingdom when we've trespassed against his laws and trespassed against the guidelines that he lovingly gave us?
He is fully capable of forgiving, I feel like, and not like humans are.
Dang, he's not like us.
Yeah, he's better than us. Yeah.
So our ticket into heaven is his forgiveness. We are not made right with God, or nor can we be made right with God unless he extends that forgiveness to us. And that's the gospel message, is that, hey, the only way that you're going to be right with me is if I give you a way of forgiveness. And in the Bible it says that he's given his son Jesus as a sacrifice for something that we deserved and he didn't, but that was the atonement that he made. That was a deal that he did for us. And that's what the hope of the gospel is for us today who need the second chance. We may not believe it, but we may need it. And so like I think belief is dangerous sometimes. Like if I don't believe gravity exists and I jump off of a building, I'm going to meet the reality of splat. If I don't believe God exists and I die and I get a fair handshake from him because he ultimately does exist, that was on me. I played Russian roulette. Yeah, so we just want to share that hope with you guys. And we want to encourage our college campus friends to think about God more because, again, the pandemic showed us that we're here one day, we're gone the next. And on our borrowed time, let's make the best of it. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, anything to share before we end?
No,
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the message.
Yeah. So was this a good interruption of the day?
Yeah,
it was
we were
good.
like talking about
We were
something like this
We were
earlier.
talking about something similar, like
We're talking
a few
about
minutes
how
ago.
the no day is promised, and like you have to live like in the present, and like the past doesn't exist and the future doesn't exist. You just have to like make sure you're living for every day, and appreciate everyone around you.
Let's not forget him. Let's not
Yep.
forget
Yeah.
him. All right. Thank you. Street interview. God bless.